Hey everyone, welcome to our felt Christmas bauble tutorial. And this one I'm particularly excited about. You can see here we've got lots of different patterns and that's about it, lots of different patterns. So we've got our white for our baubles and obviously the red and green for the details, our foam block, and then we've got our two different needles for our fine detail and fast work. And then of course we've got two little finger slippers to protect your fingers along the way. You can see that I'm going to pop them on just to show you how they work, but I've been felting for a while now, so I'll just work without it. But it does help to begin with while you're sort of figuring out your levels of how hard you want to be pressing into your felt. So starting off with our spiral needle, which you'll see at the end if you examine your two tips, one of them has a bit of a spiral effect and the other one is thinner and it's fine. So to begin with, just going to roll out your felt and then you roll it back up. You can see I'm trying to stretch it over so it has a nice smooth finish to it. And sort of doing a bit of a roll around to create a rough ball shape to get you started. And then from there, you're just going to go through and stab it with your needle. And you can see as I'm going through, I'm rolling it. So I stab a few times, I'll roll it, and then I'll continue doing that. So that creates a nice even circular sphere shape. I'm putting a bit more emphasis on those bits that need to be connected. So the end bit of your felt, ensuring it's fully intertwined. And actually, I should probably explain how the needle felting works. So each of your little needles have these tiny little jagged barbs on them. So when you're pushing into your felt, it's actually tangling it up. So every time you push in, it tangles it more and more, creating a nice, dense, firm creation at the end. It's an awesome method. I love it. So you can see as we're going along, it's slowly getting smaller and smaller. You can see the size difference just to what we started with there. And you just keep going around and around. So it's a pretty repetitive process, but I find that it's super therapeutic. Your mind has to stay really focused so that in that way it's clear. Your mind's not wandering, thinking about other stuff, because if you do wander, you get stabbed. No, not always, but you know what I mean. It's just one of those in the moment crafts. It's very, very, very relaxing until you stab yourself. So we're starting to get closer now. I'm just going around and around, and you'll notice if you do start stabbing in the same spot over and over again, it'll create quite a flat edge, so it'll skew the shape of your creation. Almost there. Now at the end, feel free to start doing some lighter pricks with your needle. You'll find that will create a bit more of a smoother finish compared to when you were stabbing all the way into the center. And we're almost done. Bam! And now there's 5. Obviously I wasn't going to show you guys how to make 5 of those. That would have been a very long video and very pointless. So you've learned how to make one of your balls. It's the same for the rest of your 5. And then you can see here we've got 5 different patterns. Whether or not you want to follow that or do your own, it's completely up to you. So to begin with today, we're going to start with our block colors, I think. Now you can see we've got our red and our green. I've stuck with these colours just because obviously they're the traditional Christmas colours and I found that it was a nice touch. So you can see we're grabbing quite a big clump of our red felt. That's going to be the middle strip for our bauble. And I'm doing a bit of a twisting motion to get it nice and smooth, make it a bit more workable. And then I'm just going to pop it over the top of my bauble in that centre section, holding it in place with my fingers. And then I'm going to grab my spiraling needle and we're just going to go through and prick that lots of times to hold it in place. As I was saying before, when you needle it, it tangles up the I keep saying the twine, the felt, and it holds it in place. Now with these sorts of bits, you do want to do it quite a few times. You don't want your colours falling off your base of the ball. And as you're needling too, you want to try and obviously stick with that circular shape. You don't want to throw it off. And now we're going to be moving on to the green, which we're putting at the top and the bottom of our ball. And it's the same thing, except obviously you want to line it up with your red and try and ensure there's not a gap of white in between. You do want to ensure that they're nice and connected. Of course, if you want to have white, that's cool. So the same thing, just lining it up and poking with our needle. Awesome. And now with the remaining bit, you can see I'm just smoothing it over that top, trying to make sure there's no sort of bald spots. And I'm going to needle it down to fix it back to that nice circular shape that we had. At the moment, it's a bit too thick on top. So once that's smoothed out, we'll just go through and do the exact same process on the other side. So I'll leave you guys with it, and we'll come back at the end. That's looking great. What we're going to do now is do our little red topper, and that's where our string's going to go through to hang our baubles. So to begin with, I'm just going to be again rolling up our ball, and then we're going to needle it to create a nice sphere shape. And then we're just going to pop it on top. So obviously you don't want to prick it too much before doing this. It wants to be still nice and soft. And you're going to pop it down nice and sort of push down nice and firmly so it gets a flat top. And then you want to go around the edges and sort of prick around to create a nice cylinder type effect. So Just going around the edges while I hold my finger on that flat top spot. And starting to look nice and cylinder. And then you go through and fix that top section again, make sure it's nice and flat. And definitely make sure it's attached properly, this one, because this is where it's going to be hanging from your tree. So you really want to ensure there's that it's nice and intact. Awesome. That one is done skis. Now we're going to be moving on to the next one. This one is, probably should have started with it first because it's actually easier than the first one. It's just a little polka dot bauble. And to begin with, you're just going to be grabbing little bits of felt, rolling it up into balls, different sizes, and you want to do both red and green. Now that those are all rolled out, what you're going to do now is grab your fine detailing needle, and you're just going to be popping your little ball in place, and then you're just going to be needling it till it's fully connected with your white. And this is all just a matter of personal preference as to where you want your little spots to be. It can be a tricky process, actually. I get really strategic with my spot placement, and then it frazzles me, honestly. But no, it's fun. It's fun. Awesome. That's our spot and our block colors done. Now we're going to move on to our spiral one. This is probably one of my favorite ones. I was going to keep it just red and white, so feel free to do that if you'd like. It kind of looks like a candy cane, but I figured I'd use green too because we were doing red and green and white for all of them. Stuck with the theme. But anyway, you can see here we've got some long bits of felt, and I'm just going to roll it out again to create a nice smooth workable piece for our spiral. And you don't want it to be too thick, that's for sure. So I'm just going to start off by needling the end in first, using our fine detailing needle as well. And then I'm just going to be curling it around, holding it in place with my finger, which can be a bit tricky at times. I definitely recommend only working in small little sections, so that way it's a bit easier for you to hold. And you're pretty much just going to be doing this exact same thing around and around until you get back to the other side, and you'll just be finishing off just like you started it on this side. At the moment, the wool's still sort of sticking out from the base of your ball, but once you're finished, you go through and do a final little prick through, and that ensures that it's all combined, and it obviously looks like it's all one. You can't see little bumps where the felt is. It's all one little creation now. Alright, so I'm just going to let you guys chug away on this one. You can watch, and we'll come back for the green. And just like magic, it's all done. Haha. And of course, we've got our little red stopper on there too. Figured that we showed you that for the first process, so it's just a matter of doing the same thing over and over for each bauble. So the next one is, you can see in the corner there, we're just doing little red and green stripes on our bauble. And these ones are lengthwise. And again, we're just going to roll up nice and thin. And if you need to get it thinner, you sort of drag that drag that felt out. So to begin with, you're going to grab your green or red, either colour. And you can see here I'm just needling that all the way around the middle section of my bauble to hold it in place. Awesome. And then I'm going to go through and do the other thing with the red. So you can see here I'm doing it slightly off center to what I had where to go. I'm gone. Oh, and I'm back. I'm just going to leave that one. So we'll continue. You can see the red's just a little bit off center. And that's because obviously we'll be doing the same thing with each of our colors to create that rotating red to green, red to green. And the next one we'll be doing our green. Now you do want to ensure that your spaces are nice and even, but at the same time I'm usually not the best with that, so it's no stress. I can be a little bit, I pick and choose when I'm going to be anal about things, in all honesty. And you can also see here that some of the thickness of my stripes are a little bit off. Some are thin, some are thick. Again, if you want it to be unique, it's obviously a handmade creation, so it's kind of supposed to be like that. These ain't no factory-made baubles. Now I've only left a really tiny little gap to do my red and green, which was a bit flustering, but let's make it work. I think that's the beauty of art. We get really frazzled because we want it to look a certain way. But yeah, I think with art it's all about experimenting and definitely changing and altering things as you go along. It's a lot of experimenting, a lot of changes, but it's all worth it because it's so much fun. And I don't know about you guys, but I always feel so chuffed after I make something. Just real proud of myself. Alright, this one's almost done. Sweet. And we're going to show you just once more how to do that little red topper, in case you weren't paying attention the first time. So you squish down that top to ensure it's attached and give it a nice flat top. And then you go around the sides and try and create a bit of height to it and ensure it's nice and circular. Alrighty, this is the last one. So this one's stripes too, but they're sort of alternating in sizes, and there's different sort of size spaces between them too. So starting off, we're going to do a nice thin red stripe. And then we're moving on to the green, which is a little bit thicker. So I'm leaving a nice big gap. and then I'm just needling it in place. This can be a bit tricky, sometimes it just wants to slip down the ball. And you do really want to ensure that it is nice and attached. It's this one in particular where the felt that you've popped down really likes to move. It's mainly because of the angled motion of the ball, I think. So you definitely want to ensure it's nice and attached. And a really noisy truck just went past. Alright, so moving on to our second green. The same thing as before, ensuring it's nice, a bit thicker than your red. Mine was about the same thickness, so I've added a bit more to it. And I've gone out of the camera again. Alright, I'm back. Awesome, and now it's the final part. We're going to be doing sort of red little spots at the end of our baubles, ensuring there's a little bit of a gap between the red and the green. You're just going to needle prick it until it creates a similar shape to what we had with our white bauble. And then we'll do our last little topper. And again, make sure you're needling it on the sides to create that nice circular and tall effect. And then you needle prick it on top to create that flat spot, and obviously to ensure it's nice and attached. Cool. And they're done, skis. Well, almost done. There's one last touch to do. So in your kits, you should have some embroidery thread. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. So you pull it apart, you get nice little thin strands, and then you're going to be using your needle to sew it in place. So I'll fix the focus. You can see here I'm just stabbing it through that top. And then pulling it through and then just tying a nice double or even triple knot at the top. And this knot is taking me forever. It can be really tricky stuff to work with. And then you just trim your little tails and you can pull that knot into your felt if you like, make it look a bit cleaner. So 3 have already been done. I'll just show you how to do it on the 2. It's a pretty straightforward step, this one. But I'll tell you, I really struggled to get that thread into the needle. So again, you're just gonna push it through. And then doing your double knot. And our felt Christmas baubles are done. Hope you guys loved the tutorial and made the cutest little baubles. Have a lovely Christmas.